Here's a problem from an SAT practice test. We do have access to a calculator for this one. This one's really pretty straightforward. You just pretty much have to know what absolute values do to whatever ends up inside of them. And then this particular problem isn't really that big of a deal at all. So it's asking for what value of n is the absolute value of n minus 1 plus 1 going to equal 0. Well, you should hopefully realize that in order for whatever this answer is, plus 1, to equal 0, what's here has to equal negative 1, right? Negative 1 plus 0 is definitely equal to 0. So if you set up the equation, or if you just set up the equation that I just mentioned, which is the first thing prior to the adding of 1, in order to give an answer of 0 after adding 1, we have to have that first thing equal negative 1. Well, when can this quantity here equal negative 1? Well, if you put 0 in place of n, 0 minus 1 is negative 1, right? So you might think, all right, well, hey, negative 1 plus 1 gives me 0, but I have to take the absolute value of whatever ends up inside this quantity here. So even if I put a 0 here, 0 minus 1, yeah, that is negative 1, but the absolute value of negative 1 is positive 1, and then positive 1 plus 1 is definitely not 0. So it's tempting to go with choice A here, but as long as you're careful and you remember that the absolute values are going to take whatever's inside of them and specify how far it is from 0 and always return a positive answer. If this is always going to be 0 or above, and I'm adding 1 to something that's already at 0 or above, there's no way that I can have this expression equal 0. So as long as you don't fall for the trap of choosing letter A, this problem's really not too bad. There's not going to be any possible way for us to have this work out to be 0. Even if you think about this equation here, can an absolute value equal negative 1? No, an absolute value can only ever equal 0 or a positive. So a few different ways you could reason it out. Hopefully that's helped you with this problem.